Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Weekend Wrap Up Show. It is May 3rd, 2025. I'm David Thomas. Mr. Josh Blevins sitting across from me. Josh, you had a lot of things happen early this week. Some big news we came out with early.
We came out early. Yeah, we'll recover that again just a little bit today. But after that, it kind of slowed down the rest of the week. But we got
that was
few
a big
things
one.
to talk about. That was the big one for sure. So
Yeah, and we got some, look like some developments and some different things
things
from the
going on in
study
city,
session.
Yeah, for the study session.
But today we want to thank our sponsors.
Two sponsors today.
Okay, we've got Dennis Young Insurance, and we
Yep.
appreciate Dennis and him being a sponsor of this show and allowing us to bring the news that matters.
Yeah.
And now we have Leverett's Power Washing, and Tyler Leverett.
Yeah.
I can give some firsthand details on that. He did some work for me not long ago. He's done some work for my sister. Fantastic. The before and after is amazing, and you'll see here in our upcoming commercial some of that work. But give Tyler a call. His number will be on the screen.
All your power washing
washing. He can do it all. And
Yep.
hey, we had a gutter that had some mold on it. It was starting to get that little look, and now it looks like brand new after he did it. Well, it might be in this video.
That's cheaper than replacing your gutter.
Oh man, what are you talking about? So if you need some gutter work, he'll clean those things out and get them looking brand new.
Right.
Let's pause now and hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 19...
All righty, welcome back in here to the Weekend Wrap Up Show. For some reason, right now we are not streaming on Facebook; we're only on YouTube, unfortunately. And I don't know what that story is, but well,
we'll keep on.
We'll just keep on going, and we'll have this reposted up on Facebook later as soon as we get off here.
Yeah,
but it could be a Facebook issue for some reason, but we'll get that fixed. But Josh, tell us with our
week that happened.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened early.
Yeah, early in the week. Monday was the city versus county lawsuit, which we covered that as breaking news Monday afternoon. So I don't want to dig into that too deep since we already covered it for about 15 minutes. But I did want to go back because we got a lot of comments from that coverage and just wanted to hit a couple points that I had seen from being at the court case and also getting a lot of the documentation, that it seemed like there was a little bit of maybe confusion out in the public on how some of this stuff had happened. Particularly, I get a lot of comments about, hey, now we're going to need to split back up and have a city school system.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, which... A, that's a bad idea because your duplication of services, we already have a lot of that between the city and the county. But B, this sales tax issue actually happened a decent amount of time after that school system split or combination happened. Yeah, the school system, the county took over the city school system back in the 1960s.
Right.
So that actually was finalized in 1968. The sales tax issue didn't come into effect until that agreement was 1974. So at the time of when they were having the negotiation over the sales tax, it wasn't a negotiation of, is the county going to take over the city schools? They'd already done all that. It was a negotiation over the city school buildings are in poor physical condition. We need to fix our city schools. And how can we do that? So at that point, they made this agreement, which gave a portion of the new sales tax, that 0.75% that's up for debate now, over fully to the county to be used on school buildings. So couple points I got from being in the room that just wanted to cover again. I don't know that we covered all these on Monday. The whole case revolves around contract language and the meaning of the word relinquish. Relinquish is in the contract. And the question is, does the word relinquish mean forever? The judge actually said, he looked it up in the dictionary, relinquish does not necessarily mean forever. The possible similar situation that you could consider, just to think of use the word relinquish, say, and this was the example given in the courtroom, if I said I relinquish 1% of my income to my son to pay for school books on the condition that he used it to pay for school books, does that mean that every time for the rest of his life that he goes and buys school books, I have to give him 1% of my income?
Josh, wouldn't that be two different? Relinquish means to give up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
but
there's
does
not
it mean
a time
to give
frame.
Up forever?
No.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say not forever either.
It doesn't say not forever.
It doesn't
say either
specify
way.
time.
That's the whole debate.
Okay.
Yes. Is it forever? Is it not forever? Is it for a limited amount of time?
And relinquish means we're just giving it up.
Right.
And if you don't say forever, it doesn't. If you don't specify time, it could mean forever,
or it could not mean forever. So
depending on what the intent was,
and right? And that's the intent was where they get into all that testimony, going backwards to what the members thought at the time, which obviously they've all passed away, so you can't even talk to them anymore. So then you're basically left with hearsay of people that heard what they said.
Yeah.
So, couple other things. The judge pointed out, and this was his words. He got into a little bit of a back and forth with the county attorney. He said, at least from how he saw the evidence that he'd been presented at that point, he felt like the county and the school board kind of squeezed the city. He said the city was in a point where it was urgent to get the school buildings built. They wanted to have the contract language a certain way, and the county kind of squeezed them to go a different way. The city kind of rolled over because they didn't have a choice. They needed those buildings fixed. So that'll part of that'll go into his decision. He also mentioned that the contract language doesn't require this money to be spent on school buildings. They've spent this only on buildings for the past 50 plus years. Once that $10.6 million bond was paid off, they could have been using some of this money for teachers, for supplies,
could
for
have
all
been anything.
this.
Okay.
And I think it would have been a whole different case if they had been using this money to pay for day-to-day school expenses.
Okay. The flip side of this, and this is where it's tit for tat.
Right.
The county will say, well, the city wants this money back because they don't care about school kids. They don't care about your children. Okay. That's the political talking point.
Yeah. But the math is, which we talked about on Monday, even regardless of how this lawsuit turns out, after it's done and, said and done with, the local funding that goes to Bedford County schools will continue to be over 50% covered by people living within the city limits. Half of our property tax comes from within the city limits. And then actually on the sales tax side of thing, more than half of our retail transactions probably happen within the city of Shelbyville.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Where all the stores
it does, yeah.
So, and half of that money goes to schools.
I mean, you could argue this case and it makes sense. Okay. Very easy.
Side,
but it's all about that document, Josh.
It's all about that one document, and that's what it's going to come down to. And we'll know the final answer the end of May.
I got to think sometime when I was back in high school, this should have been worked out. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, it should have been hashed out at that point.
Yeah.
And I think it fell through the cracks because the city was just glad, hey, y'all are dealing with it.
Right.
And didn't think about that money that was
out of sight, out of mind until we get down the road. And then at that point, you got a lot of back and forth. So that's where we've been.
And by the way, I just shared a link on Facebook from YouTube.
Oh, okay.
For anybody that's tuning in, just to let you know, for some reason, Facebook is not live streaming this morning, and we have it toggled the stream.
Yeah, technology is a great thing when it works.
It is.
Great thing when it works. A couple other points I just want to make. I went back and reviewed some of my notes. From Mayor Graham's testimony, he was asked the question because we were in the world of construction.
Right.
He was asked under oath when we were going to be out of the portable business. And the answer he gave, I thought, was a little different than the one I've been hearing in the public lately, which the answer he gave in the courtroom was, we got a path to be out of portables in 12 to 24 months.
But I thought we were out of portables.
We're not out of portables. We have covered that. We still are in portables for sure in Southside.
Very, very small
amount of portables.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was a little different. And then he was also asked a question, which I guess I'm not sure if he doesn't know how this works, or he actually gave incorrect information just based on how the school system works. They were covering the two newest buildings, which was Cascade High School and Cartwright Elementary School. And he said that Cartwright is mainly city students because elementary students have to go where they're zoned. Only high school students can go outside their zoned area. That's not accurate. No, they can anywhere in the county. You can go to any school as long as your parent can get you to the school. So yeah, so that's not how that works. And then final one, we covered this on Monday, and I went back and reread my notes to get the exact quote. It was said that the city certainly would like to no longer contribute to education, and that is. Because I sit on the city council, that's 100%.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. All right, I live in the city of. I live outside the city of Shelbyville, but I have property in the city of Shelbyville, and we're paying county property tax.
We're contributing
on the city of Shelbyville. Okay, so I think some of that money goes to, and everybody in the city is contributing if they're paying their property tax.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sales tax. That's another issue, but. I think most everybody, probably half of our students are coming from inside the city. I think everybody is concerned about students.
Yeah,
I think that's a top priority.
From either side of this argument that doesn't care about kids. So
this is political fodder, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I think he needs to rethink that.
Yeah, I think that was an incorrect statement. And yeah, definitely the city cares, about education, just like the county does. There's nobody out there. I mean, nobody hates kids in education. So unless you're some kind of, psycho or something. So,
but to insinuate that is offensive.
Yeah.
It's just, come on, man.
That was not a
Hey, you remember the show, the NFL Sunday CBS? They had that part. It's a come on, man.
This
is a come on, man. We got to have a come on, man.
We do. Because we all care about the kids in education.
Yeah.
So that was it. Other than that, everybody's waiting now on the lawsuit. So we'll find out the answer by the end of the
day. It could happen faster than 30 days, though, couldn't it?
It could, yeah. The judge said he's going into a 2-week trial, which would be this coming week and the next week. But who's to say that trial, really takes all the time? Our trial was scheduled for 3 days and we got done in, 5 hours. So
if you were a judge, what would you do, Josh? And I know you have a dog in the fight because you represent city voters. If you were a judge sitting there, what would you do? I know what I would do.
He had and this was mentioned too, he had the option of picking a end date for this contract. He didn't have to say that where the city said it ended, it should be, or where the county said. He has the option. He could come back and say, okay, I think it needs to end at some point. The county just paid for this new school, Cartwright Elementary. I say this contract should reasonably run till 2039, which I think is when the bonds end. So he could give that as a ruling. So that would be some way to kind of stay down the middle still.
Oh, I would really stay down the middle. Yeah. Is that what you would do, you think?
I think he might be leaning somewhere in there. And 2039 may not be the date, but maybe he says 2029 or something.
I'm saying on 2026, January 1st, you take the amount in question and split it down the middle.
And just move on.
Yeah. You take half of that, whatever percentage. Was it 0.16% or?
Well, it's 0.75% as a sales tax percentage. It's 14% of the bucket.
14% of the bucket. Take it 7 and 7, split it.
Yeah.
You take it, use it for your whatever you're going to do, and I think it's tourism or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever it needs to
whatever it would go to.
And county, you remain. And I think this could have been done in a room somewhere
early on. That is the main argument, which is this should have been happened.
Yeah.
With the two sides.
Well, that's what I would do if I was a judge, because it's like y'all are like brothers fighting here.
Right. Yeah. You're fighting amongst.
Tear it in half and split it.
Yeah.
There. You take some, you take some.
Yeah. And move on and get to the business of taking care of the city and the county. So, which
at least it's a draw there.
Yeah.
And if one wins versus the other, it's a loss for both sides, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's no winner either way,
no.
Except the guys that got their BMW payments covered at the law firm.
Yes,
so
exactly.
They did okay. They're all driving nice new cars out of this.
Yeah.
So So nobody in the city is, or the county.
No.
So just the lawyers. Tuesday, the only meeting that was actually on the government calendar this week was the city council study session. It was a long one. We started at 4:45 because we started with a facility assessment of the City Hall, Fire Station number 2, and the Public Works building. And in a nutshell, the facility assessment was they're old and they're falling apart. So,
okay, all right. So,
yeah,
I was probably a young lad.
Yeah,
and these were still relatively older buildings when I was a young lad. I get it.
I believe Public Works, they mentioned maybe 1949.
Yep.
Yeah. So they've been around a while.
And you got your fire halls. A lot of those were built in the late 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know the one over on Kingery Road, it was probably built 60s.
Yeah.
Our current fire hall, 60s, maybe late 50s. So
yeah,
time.
They need a lot of help. So that their combined value, and I think they said maybe this was just tax value, but of those three buildings right now is $3.4 million. But they currently need $5.6 million worth of repairs.
That doesn't make sense, does it, Josh?
The math doesn't seem to work there. Now, that is not immediate repairs. That's repairs over the next, I can't remember
few years.
The time. Yeah, it was 5 to 10 years maybe. But at some point there, you got to wonder, do you keep repairing those buildings, or at what point do you replace the buildings? So now buildings that they are in plans of replacing, that was just three, of our buildings. The main fire headquarters and police headquarters down there on Lane Parkway, they've already said those are end of life. Those are beyond repair. They don't have the space.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
And this is just a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, that the city owns that property. Okay.
Right.
Going forward, let's just say they're decommissioned from what they're currently being used for.
Yeah.
Could the fire department use that as like a smaller precinct type place, a station, a separate station, but not headquarters like it is now, for a satellite,
sure.
and it's be in the middle of town.
And then fire, that doesn't work because based on ISO rating, you've got to have them spaced out
so it wouldn't space properly.
Yeah, because which we're about to get into, the new location for the headquarters is like 3 blocks away.
Well, that wouldn't make sense.
Do you any good.
No.
So,
but what about for the same thing with the police department?
Are not looking to precinct. We're just not a big enough department. You don't want to split your forces to two different areas of the city.
Right,
it's good. It might be good to have a satellite office somewhere just on the north side.
But what value does that property bring to anybody else? That's the problem.
Not
You
a
like
lot.
to tear the buildings down,
and they're right on the flume.
Yes,
so
that's not a good. So this is like tear it down, have
and
a parking
turn into
lot.
parking lot and green space. Probably, yeah. I don't think anybody, intelligent would put a nice business there again because of the flume and and where it's located. So for the fire and police headquarters, and they've not gone and done the final drawings of the bids, but just a rough estimate from the company that's been doing this review, she thought maybe $25 million. So they're looking at property up next to the library is the location they're looking at right now. They've had some initial talks with, there's not a lot of property owners involved there. There's actually only 2 private property owners there. So they think they can get that property, and they think location-wise it fits. It's right off the square. It holds the ISO rating for the fire department, and $25 million seems like an amount that they can. Obviously, you have to do bonds.
What kind of time frame are we looking at, do you think, for this project if it occurs? It's going to be right away, or?
I'd say, they're talking, we need to start moving. They talked about this in the last comprehensive plan like 2 or 3 years ago, and then it didn't really get very far. So I think the first step is to acquire the property, which I think they're actively going to start doing within the next few months. And then the next step will be they're doing the final engineering, get actual drawings, get real numbers of, square footage, how much this building costs, and then decide when do you pull the trigger on. They'd be looking at like a 40-year set of bonds, construction bonds for this, for the $25 million. I think they said rural, because we're a rural area, we get some special rates. I think maybe under 4% or right at 4%.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's
$25 million is a lot of money for that.
25 is a lot of money. So on a 40-year payment, that monthly or that yearly payment, you're still probably over $1 million a year, right at $1 million a year.
So what kind of are we expanding to where we will have a future expansion built into that building?
It would be a combo building, police and fire, and it would hopefully be built with the understanding of what do we need for the next the next 30 or 40 years.
From the time those buildings were built to now, the cost of construction has gone exponentially to where it's like many, many multiples of what it was back then. And it's almost mind-boggling that it's changed so much in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Just since 2020, all that stuff has gone through the roof. So, So that's where we're at with that. That was just the first hour of the meeting. We followed that with a quick vote on the river overlook. We needed to acquire some right-of-way. There's a piece of property there that's privately owned, And without that little piece of property, they can't run the little greenway, walkway, whatever you're calling it there. So unfortunately, that's another $40,000 to a consultant who's got to come in and do all these. They got to get it appraised. They got to make offers to the property owner. It's some kind of TDOT requirement because that's
So,
the strings attached
this
to
is-
taking this state grant. You have to do things.
All right. So
their
this
way,
acquisition, the 40,000 is just to get it to where you can make an offer, or is that going to include the property as well? You think?
I don't think that does not include the value of the property now. So, but
Okay.
it's 980 square feet of property. So I don't know how much value 980 square feet of property.
That's
would
pretty
have.
small.
It's a pretty small piece.
At
of property.
$40,000 is a lot of money to pay just to get to the point
Just
where
to
you
get
can
to the
buy
point,
it.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, this
Yeah.
is getting
So,
ridiculous.
yeah.
And it's everything. I'm not just saying about this project. It's
Sure.
just everything's
In
going
general,
through.
yeah, things are expensive. Also, the city is on the hunt for a retail recruitment company. They had been using retail strategies, I believe, out of Alabama, maybe, but they have a non-compete with Tullahoma, so they weren't able to go out and directly recruit businesses for the city. They could just give the city information to do their own recruiting. So they're looking at a different path to go down to look for retail businesses. So that'll be something
Okay.
that'll be coming
All
up.
right, Josh, let's talk about this just for a second. Is the
Yeah.
goal here to get chain stores in here that we all desire? Is that what
I think
it is?
that's what this is. Yeah, this is to look for nationwide brands and
Okay.
tell them why they should be locating in the city of Shelbyville, like I don't know, restaurant chain Longhorn or something, And I don't know which ones they're looking at. That's just one that I know I've seen on Facebook that people would like to see. So stuff like that, you need to have somebody that's got an in with those companies to go out there and say, hey, here we got a city in southern Middle Tennessee. It's growing. We think they fit your demographics. Why don't you come in and take a look at them? So that's the idea there.
the demographics.
So,
That's the key thing.
demographics and traffic. So and
We
traffic
definitely have
counts.
some traffic.
Yeah, we got some traffic. Couple other big things coming up, and all these will be voted on at the city council meeting this upcoming Thursday. But we've got a rezoning on the bypass. We have one parcel that's already to second reading on changing it to C2. And then we have a bigger parcel on the bypass that they're wanting to go to R4. So this had been deferred twice. And then they brought out this handy dandy flyer
The
to
Grove.
this meeting. The Grove, a luxury living experience with a modern clubhouse, 80% brick, 20% board batten, professional landscaping, gated community, wrought iron fencing, brick pillars. And if you go to the back, resort style pool, 24/7 fitness center, package reception service, community rental space, stainless appliances, granite countertops, washer dryer hookups, so on and so forth. It would be 31 bedrooms, 72 bedroom, and 24
124
three-bedroom
units.
apartments. 124 units altogether. So that was the presentation. Now, because this is a rezoning, even though we got handed this handy dandy flyer, there's nothing contractually or legally that holds them to any of that. So all the rezoning does is allow the property to be used for multifamily housing, and then they can do whatever they want. Now, in this case, this developer has an existing, and maybe even more than one apartment complex in other areas. They actually, besides this, they brought us a flyer from, they have one in Tuscaloosa, Alabama
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So they're in this business.
I know the
So,
gentleman that
yeah.
he has ties here because of the horse industry.
Yeah.
I think that he's a good man, and I feel like that he would do what he says he's going to do.
Right.
And if this rent schedule here is held true, it would be a good move for a little bit more affordable housing in some issues here, some
Right.
cases, depending on your demographics.
Yeah.
If you're a single person, especially.
Yeah, and a better product than we currently have
Right.
anywhere in town. There's nothing like that in town. This is similar to what you would get if you moved to Rutherford County or Davidson County
Right.
or Williamson County. So it seemed like there was a lot of positives from it. Obviously, we won't know till the vote happens on Thursday, but it seemed like it went over well with the council. So I think
I was, you and I have talked about that. I've talked
Yeah.
to several people about the high density situation that we all are. I'm up in arms about all the time because I see houses being built on top of each other. I mean, if you're going to build houses on top of each other, why don't you just build an apartment complex? It makes more sense to me.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and this apartment complex, I think people are hollering for it. There's a lot of people that they're still living with their parents or living with a relative, and they need some affordable, high quality. If you can get that combination, Josh, I think there's a need for it here.
Yeah. So again, we won't know till Thursday, but it feels like it's going in that direction. So we'll see what the vote is. And then the other big one, and this was more of a hot topic. This is the property on 231, right about just if you're going out of town, just past where the bypass hits 231 on the left.
Right.
This is the big 20, it's either 21 or 22 acres that have been cleared off, asking to be rezoned to C2. There is a lot of concern from the homeowners that back up to this property on the other side from Midland Road, that they would rather not have C2 here. I think the problem lies in that this is our main entrance into the city of Shelbyville. This is pretty much where
it's your
retail
commercial
gateway
retail
into the city. This is it.
This is your retail corridor.
Yeah, this is your retail corridor. This is what we're looking for in the city to get some new life, some new big box stores. This has the right traffic count. Let me see if I can find.
Now, originally, this piece of property was going to be used for some apartments, I think. Or
originally,
townhomes.
it was being looked at for apartments.
It makes more sense to put a retail outlet here versus apartment complexes because, like we were just saying, it is our. If you put it up if you had a planning map, this would be for retail.
Right.
If you were looking down the road.
And let me give you some numbers. I got these off our TDOT report. I sent these to somebody earlier this week. The reason that, and everybody always asks, why is everybody building on 231? Why are they not building on Madison Street? Our average daily traffic count at the bypass on 231 is 26,180 cars a day. If you go out on Madison Street, you're down to between 12 and 15,000 cars a day. So that's why these companies, these retailers are looking to go on 231 North. They want to go where the traffic is. I have an idea.
I understand the traffic flow because we have so many people traveling back and forth from Murfreesboro. Yeah. But we also have, and I think if we started scattering this out, a natural fit for some retail on Madison Street. Right. And I think it would ease some of the traffic flow and actually benefit North Main.
If you could pull them over to Madison.
Yes, because right now I try to avoid North Main. Because that's the reason Fairfield Pike is so packed up.
Right.
But if you did start, and I think Madison Street needs a revamping, and it's not going to happen overnight, but I think there needs to be some incentives brought forth to benefit people that want to improve Madison
redevelop
Street,
some of those blighted
more
buildings.
so than North Main.
Yeah.
Like the pilot program.
Right.
If there's some way to get even a local person that wants to start a business and he wants to revamp, I think we've got to start rejuvenating. You see small towns like us all over the country have one side of town that just runs down because everybody
abandons it and goes the other way.
Well, Walmart used to be out where the church is now, where
Gateway
is. Yeah. That was where everybody went. When they moved north of town, it turned into a ghost town. But people still live out that way.
Oh, sure.
People still travel, not the traffic flow, but all through there are retail opportunity spots for retail. We've got the Christian school, Cooper Christian Academy being built there. Now. And you've got other just pieces of property that people are just getting by with their businesses and can't afford to improve. But if there was some incentive, I think new people would come in and revamp it. But I think that's something that the city really needs to look at for down the road.
Right. Yeah. How can we get Madison Street back to, a good commercial corridor that has a higher traffic count, that has more people out there shopping. So I'll tell you, because I live on the opposite side of town, on the west side of town. I was talking to a neighbor this week, something totally unrelated, with one of the construction managers, and he mentioned something to her about Belmont Avenue. She said, I don't even know where that is in the city. And I thought, there are people that live in my neighborhood, which is a Union Station on the west side of town. They probably, for the 3, 4, 5 years they lived here, they may have never even been to Madison Street hardly. They go up, get on 231 and go to Murfreesboro. They don't, a lot of them, barely come to the square, and those businesses on Madison Street, they may not even know they exist.
Speaking of the square, and off topic, I had a comment here come up. Let me pull it up. It's Billy Woods, I believe it was. Let's see. He was asking about when will the lights on the courthouse be unveiled, and I think they already have, hadn't they, Josh?
They've had a soft unveiling. Yeah,
soft unveiling.
Some nights they are on. Some nights they They are off. That is actually due to the fact that they're software controlled. And from what I've heard from our IT people, the software module that controls them, they haven't got the automated part of it working. So they have to actually physically hit the button right now to turn them on.
Well, that's
and as you might imagine, at 8 o'clock on a weeknight, there's not a lot of people there to hit the button.
Well, somebody drive by and hit the button. I'll go do it for them. Just tell me
well,
where the button is.
It's somewhere.
They wouldn't do me. Let me do that.
I don't think they're going to give you the power of the button.
Brian Woods is who asked about that. Brian, that's our update on that. We've had a soft opening, but not a hard opening. I can't wait.
Yes, as soon as they get all the tech,
we'll have a fireworks show whenever that happens.
Yeah, so they have been on. I've seen them on, so for sure. Last couple things real quick. We're doing the city is doing a request for proposals on brush grinding. This is because our city burn pit is no longer allowed to burn a piece of brush if it has a leaf on it.
Where did that law come from,
This is
Josh?
a state thing that has come in. We're one of the few, if any, burn pits left in the state that are licensed by the state to be operated as one. And they've gotten complaints in the past about smoke, oddly enough, from a burn pit. So if there's leaves on the brush now, the state no longer lets them burn it. So we're going to have to hire an outside company to come in and collect the brush that has leaves on it.
You got to be kidding
and
me.
run it through a grinder.
You got to be kidding. Hey, there's nothing. I love to smell wood burning.
Yeah.
Especially in the fall and winter, man. That's just...
Apparently,
but we're not going to have it here.
Apparently, the people by the burn pit do not enjoy
okay,
it.
well, I guess so.
Yeah, so anything with a leaf on it, they got to run it through a grinder now. So, and then last but not least on that agenda, we are about to hire an architect / project manager for the big new soccer complex. And we got this. They picked one. They had 4 people come in, and they did a whole day of interviews. And they have gone with, I guess this is pronounced with Wold Architects and Engineers out of Brentwood. They came in at a price of $212,750. It's a over $3 million project, which I believe they said puts it at 6 or 7%, which is significantly less than what they were expecting. They're expecting to pay 10 to 15% for a project,
right?
Someone to oversee it. So they're going to be our people. They're going to be out there watching over. They're going to do the original architect, the design. They're going to be out there on the actual fields as things are happening every day and making sure it all gets done. And hopefully it comes in at or under budget. And in a couple of years, we've got a nice new soccer complex over at the park. So
okay,
and we will be voting on them as well.
And this amount $212,750 is just for the drawings and the
overseeing the project through the whole the whole year plus the project. So it was a good deal. One other just side note I want to mention real quick. Wednesday, we had a follow-up lunch at Cooper Steel. This was for the long-term vision project that they're working on with Tip Strategies out of Texas.
Right.
And it was good to see on Wednesday. Monday, we had the city and the county sitting in a courtroom, fighting it out, duking it out, fight to the death. And then on Wednesday, we had a lunch where we had both mayors, both planning directors from the city and the county. We had members of the city council, the county commission. We had members from the school board. We had teachers, people from education, people from all walks of both sides, city and the county, all sitting together, having lunch, looking at ideas to improve Bedford County and the city. And it was good to see that. And actually, ironically enough, sitting side by side at my table were Mayor Graham and Councilmember Feldhaus sat right next to each other. They were our the two witnesses at the lawsuit 2 days earlier.
Okay.
So hopefully,
sounds like the WWE to me.
Yeah.
You ever watch the wrestlers? They go out to eat.
They go out to eat afterwards.
Yeah,
so maybe this is a sign that everybody is.
Well, I think so.
Is working together.
I think in general. Yeah. Okay. So this deal, the 50-year plan down the road, there has to be the word improve.
Right.
It has a lot of different definitions depending on who you ask.
Sure.
So what is the general consensus with this group? What does improve mean?
I guess we won't know that till they bring us the studies. So,
but there has to be some criteria to do the study. Does this mean increase our population? Does this mean increase our demographics? Does this mean recruitment of businesses? Or all
I think
above?
It's kind of a combination. I think they'd like to recruit businesses. I think they'd like to get the demographics up to where you've got employees that can work at the businesses. I think they'd like to clean up the city overall a little bit, bring in newer retail opportunities, just
Okay.
like the city's looking to do, and kind of
Just-
all
right.
of the above. Also work on education.
You're
Yeah.
talking to people all the time, Josh. I talk
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah.
From the guy that's working a factory job in town to the
Yeah.
guy that's driving to Murfreesboro to work somewhere, to a guy that's sitting at home on his computer doing IT, to a small business owner, to a guy that's flipping burgers at McDonald's. All of these people have their idea of what improvement would be. I would think it would be a novel idea for whoever's doing this study to talk to all walks of life here to get their idea of what improvement means, because improvement for a guy that's flipping burgers at McDonald's is a lot different to a guy that's driving to Murfreesboro to work that's got a pretty good paying job. There's
Sure.
two different ideas of what improvement means. This
Yeah.
guy making lower income, he sees improvement as how I can get a better job or how I can advance.
Right.
This other guy might be thinking about, well, I need a big steakhouse to eat out, or you know what I'm
Sure,
saying?
yeah.
But it's all different.
Yeah, the
And
guy
I-
flipping burgers isn't worried about how nice
he's
the
worried
steakhouse
about feeding
is.
his family.
Yeah.
Okay, there's
Yeah.
so many different concerns here,
Yeah.
and I would hate to see. And I know Gary Cooper is pushing this hard. I would encourage everybody involved in this to get everybody's take on it, because that improve means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of people.
And that is the goal, is to get a broad spectrum of people. They had the initial meetings a month or two ago. They had 6 different roundtables of people from both. It's not just government people. They also had business owners in town. They also had just people from the community. They also had people just from the school system. So they're trying to hit as broad a spectrum of people here. And they'll be back. This Tip Strategies will be back. I think they said as early as maybe sometime later this month,
Yeah.
May or June, to do a follow-up set of meetings to get out there. And they're driving around. They're touring the city. They're trying
Right.
to see as much as they can. I mean, obviously you can't survey everybody in
Of
town. I
course
mean,
you
it's
can't.
20,000
No, you
people.
can't.
So they're just trying to hit a broad enough cross section to get that much information. The initial set, I want to say maybe there was 60-ish people involved, 60 to 70 people between all the different groups that they met with. So, and they may expand out beyond that
Yeah,
as they go forward.
I have a
So,
take as a business owner
Yeah.
what improve would be. And all different walks of life have their own version of what improve means.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to all move together somehow,
Right.
because improvement to that, like I said before, the guy flipping burgers or me as a business owner, it's something completely different to
Yeah.
a certain group of people. So it's just like there's a lot of socioeconomic categories out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and I'm expecting good things to come out of it. We'll bring in the people as we hear about it. So, but other than that, that was everything I did that was newsworthy, I think, this week, that was worth talking about. So maybe we could hear from our sponsors one more time, and
Yeah.
then we'll talk about the upcoming weeks
Yeah.
where there's a lot going on.
We'll hear from Leverage Power Washing, our new
Yeah.
sponsor. And of course, as always, Dennis Young Insurance. We'll be right back.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 19.
All right. Welcome back into the weekend wrap up. Josh, we've got an upcoming week here with some things on the calendar.
There's a lot of things on the calendar. Not a lot of government meetings, actually. This is one of those months where at the county level, they meet on the second, third, and fourth Tuesday.
Right.
But this past month, I think there was 5 Tuesdays. So they've actually had these 2 weeks where there were no county
Right.
meetings at all. So we've only got one city meeting. But out in the bigger community, there's a lot going on. Thursday morning, I hope to be at the Business Networking for the Now at 8 o'clock. There's a new restaurant that just opened on Madison Street. It's called Happy Times. I've heard a few good things about it. They got burgers and chicken, and it's a restaurant. I don't know. I hear it's good. They got food. I'm gonna go there. But our friend Tina Baker Corley is going to be is speaking at this event, and she's going to talk about what goes on. She helps. It's the supplies for the teachers.
For the teachers. It's Adopt a Teacher program.
Adopt Teacher program. So, she'll be there talking about that. This is a free event. Anybody can come out. So if you're anywhere in Shelbyville and you're free Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, I'd recommend coming out. It's a new restaurant. You get to try out a new restaurant, too. Yep. So Thursday evening, the only actual government meeting this week that I'll be attending that I know of is the city council meeting at 6 o'clock. We will have votes on these rezonings, all the things that we talked about earlier today. There may be some more discussion on this property for the new fire and police headquarters. There will be, I think we vote on this soccer complex architect, a couple other things. So it'll be the monthly meeting. Anything going on city-wise that needs a vote from the council, this will happen Thursday night. Now, the big one, well, let's go. This is on my rundown real quick. Friday afternoon, I think 4 to 8 o'clock is the art crawl on the square. So they have this every so often. Yep. This is the spring one. So there'll be artists set up around the square. I think some businesses stay open later when these go on. Yeah. So that's
what about the popcorn stand?
I haven't heard yet, but a lot of times it's open for this.
So. Yeah, I'll come up there and get me some of that.
You can come get some popcorn.
I love
they may or may not. No guarantee on the popcorn, but it has been open for this event before. But Saturday is the big day. This is one of those times, and I think we've said this a couple other times here in the county. A lot of times people complain nothing ever goes on in Shelbyville. I got to go to Murfreesboro. I got to go to Tullahoma.
Well, there's a list of stuff going on.
Saturday, there is plenty going on that you could stay in Bedford County. We've got the Connected Community 5K starting at 8 o'clock on the square. That's where we're going to watch David run for 5 kilometers. So
not me.
Not you.
It's a different David.
Must be another David.
It is.
Sorry. I actually, what I'm going to be doing, I'm not going to be running either because I'm going to stay for the big blast off, and then I'm driving down the road.
You're running though.
I'm driving, but I'm going to drive down the road and get me some breakfast at the VFW monthly breakfast, which is from 7:30 to 9 o'clock.
Good
VFW.
Deal at that. Was it $10?
$10.
They got all kinds
the
of
food
stuff
you can eat for breakfast. It's good stuff. And then at the Celebration Grounds Pavilion, going on all day long, is the Celebration City Car Club Car and Truck Show. So I think they start about 8 o'clock. I think they said judging starts about noon, and they're giving out awards about 3. So there'll be cars and stuff at the Celebration Grounds all day long. War Trace Strawberry Festival all day, 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock on that Saturday. And then Saturday afternoon into the evening is the annual First Choice, the Pregnancy Center Fish Fry from 3 to 6 o'clock, 1198 Whiteside Hill Road in War Trace.
And that event has been going on for years.
Yeah.
And they typically have a silent auction there.
There is a silent auction.
And it is huge. So if you just want to support a good cause, that's something to go get involved in.
That's something worth going to.
That is. It's a good time of fellowship. Always have good food.
Yeah.
And then you've got massive amounts of products that you can bid on, and it's fun.
Yeah,
that silent auction is fun to do because you are hovering and you get into that competition and you watch and it's like it's like cutthroat. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, there may be some fisticuffs break out or something.
Close,
very close. So all that to say that if you want something to do this coming Saturday, you're going to have plenty of choices. Yeah. You can try to do it all. I think you could probably make it to all those.
And that's a busy day right there.
So, but other than that, I think we will be back here next week, same time, same place, same channel, and possibly on Facebook again next week if it all works right.
It says we're on Facebook, but we're not on Facebook.
We're not on Facebook. I don't think we're on Facebook, but we're going to get on Facebook.
Yeah. All righty.
Yeah.
We'll see you
next week.
See you next week. Have a good weekend.